So we're in chapter 2, talking about ratio analysis in your business math. Ratio analysis is used often by business management to analyze the financial position of the business. And this is how you can see this ratio will tell you whether your business is going to make it or not. You know, what is your analysis? And we're going to basically compare one value to the other value, your assets to your liabilities. So we already went over how to do ratios. And so we're going to go on and how to rounding to the nearest tenth, hundredth, and thousandth. You should know how to do that. But let's go to the actual analysis of this. And so we're going to go on to example 2 that talks about the current ratio. So this current ratio, and the ratio needs to be at least 2. If it's less than 2, then in probability your business is not going to make it. It's not going to flourish. So this first one is basically showing Ted Schmidt's car dealership has a current assets of $105,750 and current liabilities of $47,690. So your current ratio is always going to be your current assets over your current liabilities. So if you know the assets, which we know there, and we know the liabilities, you're just going to take your calculator and you're going to divide this out as this ratio. You're going to divide 105,750 divided by 47,690, and you get the ratio of 2.22, which is a good ratio because it has to be above 2. If it's below 2, then it means you're going to have problems. You have more liabilities than you do having assets. So this is the current ratio. So let's go on. I want to show you more. The quick ratio. The quick ratio is also called the acid test of liquidity. So what it is basically you can do it really quick, a quick exam of your business by using a quick ratio. And the difference is you're going to take not all of your assets, but you're going to also be able to take just your cash and your receivable, and you're going to divide it by your current liabilities. So instead of just taking all of your assets, which will be, all of your assets, and some of your hard assets like your equipment and everything, you're just going to take your cash and then your receivables, so that money that's owed you, and you're going to divide it by the liabilities. This quick ratio now has to be a minimum of 1 instead of 2. So if it is lower than 1, then you know that your business is not doing very well. So here's this example. So just knowing how to do a quick ratio here. So Ted Schmidt's car dealership has $4,650 in cash and $64,890 in accounts receivable. So let's look here how they did that. See, you have the quick ratio. So we know the cash. We add the cash here, taking this $4,650 plus the $64,000 of accounts receivable, and you add those two together, and you're going to get $69,540. Then you divide it by the liabilities. The current liabilities are always going to be the same, whether it's current ratio or it is the quick ratio. So, and then you divide this up, and then it says it's the quick ratio divides. You get on your calculator, and you divide these numbers, and then you look in your calculator, and it's a 1.46, and you round it off to the nearest hundredth, and you see there, yes, because it has to be at least 1, and it is. So your business is okay. This is kind of fun, isn't it? So I'm going to go over this real quick. Again, this ratio deal, I took notes here. Ratio analysis tells how well your business is doing. And the business ratio here is the current ratio. Current assets quickly turn to cash in 90 days. So you take all your assets, that's all your assets, which also are your cash and your receivables and any assets you have, like equipment that you can turn to cash right away. And then you take your current liabilities, and these are debts that are due in 1 year. So those things that you owe are your liabilities, right? So current liabilities right here. Okay? So, and it should be a minimum of 2 for business to survive. You must at least have a 2 of your current ratio. So now quick ratio here. Quick ratio is cash and receivables. See the difference? It's not all of your assets, but just the cash and the receivables. So you take the cash and receivables and you divide it again by the current liabilities, what you owe. And this should be a minimum of 1. And so this, the only difference is with the quick ratio, you only have cash and receivables, and it's 1 when you divide it out. So this is not very hard, just to know, kind of like, oh no, we're going to talk about something that's hard, but this is really good for business. You can figure out if a business is going to make it right away. If you know that if you take your cash and receivables and divide them by your liabilities, what you owe, you can see, because if you owe too much, then it's going to be less than, make the ratio less than 1, then your business probably cannot survive. You can tell how a business can survive. Okay, so you already did this rounding to the nearest tenth. So in doing this, you need to round because they're going to tell you to round, but you know how to round this. And I did these problems here, and you see 6/10. You round it the seventh of the nearest tenth. This is the nearest hundredth. You see 3.89. You're going to round it to the nearest tenth here. So here we go, and on to the nearest hundredth. So you can see how to round. You should know how to round these already. So here's some of the answers or whatever I kind of rounded. Here is, this was a little bit tricky here because you have to round, you're going to round here to the nearest thousandth. So the nearest thousandth is that place. So you're going to have to, and so basically you're just going to cut off that 0.15. So, and here's again, here's a couple. You're going to round to the nearest thousandth. Here's the nearest thousandth. And so you're going to look over here, and the 4-1 is we're going to round, basically cut that off and round down. And so here's another one. You guys should know how to do this. You learned this in grade school, so it shouldn't be that hard. Okay, we went over this already. Quick ratio in the car dealerships, and the current ratio and the quick ratio. So you know how to do that. So, okay, and this we went over already too. So, business ratios are the current ratio. Okay, we did all that. So, okay, some of your equations here. Let's see what I have for equations. This is in 21C. Let's see if I got this so you can use some examples. These are just easy. So, and because you have a calculator, it makes it easy. If you had to really calculate this out, in your head, it'd be hard, because it's a long number. So, but current assets. So they tell you what your current assets are and your current liabilities. So to find the quick ratio, you're going to divide those two, and you're going to find if you're going to actually divide your current assets 7,025 divided by 2,984, and on a calculator, which I got this number here, you're going to round it to the nearest tenth or to the nearest hundredth. We usually round it to the nearest hundredth on these. So here we have 2.354. This comes up on your calculator, then you have to round it to the nearest hundredth. So you're going to get rid of all the 4. If it's 5 or above, it will go to the next number. So that's how that one here is. The next one is your current assets are. The current assets are going to be 14,600. Current liabilities, you're going to divide 14,000 by 6.9, and you get this number 2.100. And so you're going to round it to the nearest hundredth. And so the ratio is going to be 2.10. Is it sound? Yes, it's above 2, so it's sound. Number 5 is current ratio assets. 11,500, you're going to divide that by the liabilities, which are 10,900, and this is the number you get, 1.05504. You're going to round it to the nearest hundredth, which is 1.06, because that 5 rounds up. So, and is this sound? No, it's not, because we're dealing with current ratio. If this was a quick ratio, it'd be okay, but since it's a current ratio with all your assets, it's not going to have to be at least 2 for current ratio. So now we're going to talk about quick ratio and current ratio here. So we have $975, and that's going to be how much cash we have. And then our accounts receivable are 15,600. And so our other current assets, this is other assets, that we can liquidate right away. Sometimes they're like goods that we have or something. We can liquidate them. They're 19,750 in our current liabilities. So first of all, we want to find the current ratio. So the current ratio has to be at least 2. So we're going to add all 3 of these numbers. We're going to add the cash, we're going to add the accounts receivable, and we're going to add the current assets. And all these numbers, we take all 3 of these and add these together, then divide them by our liabilities, which is the same, 20,800. Get a calculator, you can add these up, which I added here. It was 36300 divided by 208, and I got 1.75. Current ratio has to be at least 2. So this business is unsound. But what about the quick ratio? Let's do the quick ratio. Quick ratios are just the accounts receivable. That means those people that owe you money, and your cash. So I took the cash, which was 975 cash, and then I took accounts receivable, 15,600. I didn't do anything with current assets because that's a current ratio. So now we add those 2, divide it by the number, and we get we get 0.88. So it's less than 1. So this is not the quick ratio, and the current ratio tell us that this business shall not survive well. So this if you have a business of your own, you can find this out. So here we have the cash, we have accounts receivable, other assets. So that's like those other assets we have. Maybe we have goods or, goods that we have, or, equipment. And so then here's the current liability. So we take the current ratio, we add up all of our assets, which are the cash, the receivables, and the other assets. So we added them all together. I got 3,505. You add all these together on your calculator. Divide them by the current liability. We got 1,500. I divide that, and I got 2.3366 on my calculator. And so then you want to round it. So you round it to 2.34 because we'll be able to round that 66 up. So is it over 2? Yes, it is. So this business is going to survive. But we want to do the quick ratio too, just to make sure. So here's the quick ratio. Sorry there's a shadow there, but I can't get rid of it. Maybe I'll move it up so the shadow's not on. There we go. So here's the quick ratio. So we had we just take the cash. We had, a cash was $1,450 of cash. I have it up here, it was given. And then we have we only have $75 in cash receivable. We add that together, we have $1,525. We divide it by our liabilities, which are 1,500. So they're actually at 1. So since it's 1, it's going to be it's able to survive, but just barely able to survive, at 1. So let's see. Okay, there's a couple others here. Fran's Fudge. Again, we have cash, accounts receivable, merchandise, and then we have our liabilities. So our current assets, again, we're going to add 1, 2, 3. These first top numbers to get our current assets, which I added these 3 together. And as I added those 3 together, and then divide it by the liabilities, which is 908. So I divided by liabilities, and I got basically 2,232 divided by 98 right here, which is 2.46. So it's good. It's 2.46. So let's see. Wait. 2.46 C. I don't know why I wrote no there. So let's see. Current assets. 2,232.5 divided by 908. It says no, so anyway, it should be yes. So anyway, I'll have to look that up to see if I copied it wrong or something on that one. But here's another one. Just basically, I'm going to go over this. You got your cash, you got your accounts receivable, and your liquid assets. You're going to add all those to get your current ratio. Oh, and this one was the quick ratio. They wanted the quick ratio. So 195 plus 6250 divided by 908. And as we divided those, we only got 0.28, which was not enough. So the quick ratio is no. No for the quick ratio on that one. I see what I did. So here we have Faith School. So we have the current assets. We have all these assets here for the current rate assets, which are the cash, the accounts receivable, and the liquid assets. We add those together. I added all those together there and divided by, here it says, let's see, 140 divided by 12,880. So I did right there. And I get a current asset of 1.998. You round it up to 2. So it's barely enough. It's yes, it's 2. It has to be, current ratio has to be 2. Then I took the quick ratio, which is just the cash and the accounts receivable, and added those together. You get 21,130, and you divide it by 12,000, and the quick ratio is 1.75, which is good. So just to see how to do these you're going to have these on the test for sure. So Lloyd's for, again, we have cash, the cash in your accounts receivable. Remember, accounts receivable, those people that owe you money, and then your merchandise. So you have the merchandise there, which is an asset. So you have all this, and you have your liabilities. So they want to know if they can expand their business. Is their business going to work? So you take the current ratio, add up all the cash, the accounts receivable, and the merchandise. You add all those together, and you got 18851 divided by 7390. Divide this whole thing out, and yes, you got 2 point, right here, the answer was 2.55, which works. It has to be above 2, so yes, you could expand. Well, let's check again with the quick ratio. Quick ratio, we're only going to take the cash, which is $5,500 of cash, right? And then we're going to take the accounts receivable, which is 83,000 there. We're going to add those together, which I got 8851. And just use your calculator. Divide it by the liabilities, 7390, and we got 1.20. So both the current ratio and the quick ratio say yes, we can expand because our business is doing well. It's above 2 with the current ratio, and it's above 1. So that is all we have for this section. So then we'll go on to the next. So this is just foundational. So you need to know how to do these quick ratios and add these up. So this will be kind of go for him from here. So we'll stop there.